Welcome in, everybody. We are back with Medical Myths, the show about what not to do with your body. And today is a doozy. I have been waiting too long to finally get to this content, but it is way too important right now. We are going to talk about measles and the current U.S. measles epidemic. So I know this is going to be kind of a heavy-hitting discussion for a lot of people. And I know people are starting to trickle into the stream, so I don't want to get right into all of the chaotic business right away. But there are a bunch of new things coming to this channel. We're going to kind of get into that at the end, so stay tuned because we're going to be back with more stuff coming your way. And also, as people are getting in here too, I decided we're going to lean a bit into the debunking of wellness myths and all of that stuff. So I did go to the store today and I got some wellness shots, and they look pretty disgusting. I have these two, which seem like kind of standard. You can't even see it because there's green on it. There's Ginger Boost. There's also Immunity Boost with elderberry and turmeric in it and ginger. It looks absolutely disgusting. But the other thing I have, well, I have two other things. The other one I have, and I have two bottles of them. This is Magic Mind Mental Performance Shot, and this has, it does not look that gross in person, like that's just it being keyed out, but it is like this dark green, this weird green color. Hey Ryan, what's up? Welcome to Side Chat. But this is Magic Mind Mental Performance Shot, and it has, like, it actually says on the bottle, I don't know if y'all can read it, it says magic and 55 milligrams of caffeine. Like, it actually claims to have magic in it. On the side, it also says reclaim your brain with 12 magical ingredients. Like, it is leaning in to the magic. And it claims to give you a sharper mind, calm energy, and manage stress. Yeah, Miranda's like, yeah. So essentially, if we get super chats of $3 or more, I will partake in these wellness shots. I only have 4 of them. So we'll see what happens. I'm a little nervous for the Magic Mind one. It has ashwagandha and stuff in it, which I have lots of thoughts about. The other thing that will be happening is next week, we will be getting into some diet myth debunks, and we're going to be starting that off with everyone's favorite, if not least favorite, YouTube sponsor. I am not sponsored, and I will not take a sponsorship from these people. But Bloom has been everywhere. I do have some packets of this. I am trying it out for the next 7 days. And so you might see me do it on this channel for the first ever taste test of this. But next week we're going to be here, and I'm going to tell you all about how I feel after trying out Bloom for the next week. And then we're going to go into the whole consumerism nonsense related to that. But anyway, all of that aside, you all are here for measles content. And so first of all, I am going to get into kind of the numbers we have so far as of today, or I guess this is as of the 17th of September, the most updated numbers as far as the U.S. measles epidemic. So this started in Texas, kind of earlier this year. And for the record, this page is from the CDC, but this has not yet reflected what updates they're making to the vaccine schedule that we will get into discussing later on. They have not yet voted on changes to the vaccine schedule. So all of this information is going out with the prior or the evidence-based recommendations for vaccine schedule. But as of September 16th, there have been a total of 1,491 confirmed measles cases reported in the United States, and they are all over the country now. And I'm going to show you some maps related to that. And most of them are associated with these outbreak areas. So we have 1,491 cases. About 27% of them are under 5 years of age, 38% between 5 and 19, and then 34% above age 20, with 1% being unknown. And what we know about these cases so far is that 92% of these confirmed cases are unvaccinated or have unknown vaccine status at the time of this article. And about 4% had one MMR dose, and about 4% had two MMR doses. Some more numbers. There are about 12% of all of the cases of measles that are confirmed in the US have been hospitalized. So 181 of this 1,491. And most of these people who have been hospitalized for measles are under 5 years of age, which makes sense based on what we're going to get into of measles uh, how measles affects people and what complications can arise. But the under 5 years does make sense for being an immunocompromised group of people. This is like before giving spoilers to the rest of this, I'm sure you all know that my perspective is that it is important to follow the current vaccine schedule. The reason why the schedule is the way that it is because you're trying to inoculate the youngest population to where the vaccine is safe, and still target an at-risk population. So of course, like the younger you can go, the more likely you are going to be to prevent outbreaks in these very, very immunocompromised young children. So having the current recommendation as it stands in countries where there is not high risk, you're getting your first dose at around 12 to 15 months of age, and then getting a booster around 18 months. So it's pretty important that we, have an accurate timeline, because if we refuse to vaccinate under 5 years, we're going to see the highest risk of hospitalization for these cases. And then there have been 3 confirmed measles deaths in 2025 so far. So if we look at the graph here, or the map here, we have the map of measles throughout the country. So we can see that the epidemic started in Texas. It is now kind of spreading into New Mexico and the surrounding states. We do have people, who travel and all of that, who have end up in other states. So we do see some kind of moderate numbers kind of in the Midwest to the East Coast, and then we have some on the west side. Kansas, is higher up there, along not as high as New Mexico and Texas, but kind of the third highest from what I can see on this map. But cases are increasing, and the rhetoric that we're spreading about this absolutely does impact what people are going to do and how people are going to expose their kids to the measles, or if they're going to be able to prevent them from getting it. Another map that we have is vaccine rates for kindergartners by school year. So it was in previous years, we had a pretty high vaccination rate. So in 2019 2020, we had a 95.2% vaccination rate for the MMR vaccine, which decreased to 92.7 in the year following. And then now I believe we're in the 80%. And I've seen varying numbers between like 87% all the way down to 82% for vaccination rates. And of course, that's going to depend on what area we're specifically talking about. But you can see if we compare the amount of measles cases, we see, of course, Texas has a pretty low vaccination rate. New Mexico, luckily, has a greater, or at least in the past year, had a greater than 95% vaccination rate. So their cases are going up, but we also don't have the updated, because the school year just started. So we don't have the updated vaccination rates yet for all these areas. I'd love to see kind of where we're at by this graph, but we'll have to wait to see on that one. So lots of scary things happening as far as measles spread. And of course, you all are aware that there's one person in particular that is kind of spearheading the misinformation within the CDC itself. So I predict that this webpage is going to have, an impact on what is displayed on this website and what people are going to do. And we have our first super chat of the day. Ryan has sent $5 for me to do one of these. So we're gonna do one of these magic potions here, everyone. Huzzah to whatever this is. I'm gonna smell this first. I'm very confused about what this smells like. It has, so the ingredients in this, okay, it has, oh, that's what it is. It's matcha. Okay, so this has ceremonial grade matcha, ashwagandha, Bacopa monieri. It's an herb, I guess. Ceticoline. I don't know what that one is. Rhodiola, turmeric, lion's mane, cordyceps, L-theanine, and natural caffeine. Other ingredients include agave, olive oil. I don't know why there's olive oil in this. That sounds sketch. Natural flavors, chiber mushroom extract for freshness, citric acid. There's acid in this, citric acid. And chlorophyll and sea salt. And 55 milligrams of caffeine. I'm scared, Ryan. I'm scared for this. And y'all can't even really see the color too well, but this, it's the same color as my green screen. But anyway, cheers, Ryan. No, thank you. What is that aftertaste? That is nasty. Oh, no. Oh, we got another one from Kelly. Oh no. We're doing all these. I only have 4 of them. So if we get past that, I will have to start breaking out the bloom powder a bit early. But here, Kelly, we're gonna, oh man, that aftertaste is so bad. Kelly, for you, we're gonna do the immunity boost, which has, this one has elderberry, ginger, and turmeric. Also pomegranate juice, and it's got probiotics in it too. So like lots of juice and stuff. But here we go. Huzzah. Huzzah to everybody before we get more into this conversation. I'll let you know in a few minutes how the magic is hitting me, but so far it just tasted nasty. Oh, this one's gross. Oh, no. This one's like, that's like, I can't even talk. That's like straight ginger. There's so much ginger in this. It is painful. A painful amount of ginger. Oh, no. Yeah, and to Miranda's point, yeah, so New Mexico has a high vaccination rate overall, but there are communities who won't do it, and that makes sense. There, I'm sure there's a lot too, along with literacy rates, because I'm sure states with lower literacy rates have less access to a lot of the scientific information out there. Yeah, no, that was absolutely nasty. I got 2 more shots left, so if people want to torment me, there's still some left. But kind of back to the all the measles stuff. There are ways to prevent to prevent measles. There aren't great ways to prevent without vaccination. Um, but this next article we're gonna look at is this is a news article kind of covering the current situation. Why are we talking about this right now? Why is this such a big deal, other than all the data that I just showed you? Um, So this says, as a measles outbreak in West Texas continues to grow, the response from the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary, RFK Jr., has leaned heavily on treatment with vitamin A, as well as good results from the use of the steroid budesonide, the antibiotic clarithromycin, and cod liver oil, which just even before we get into all this, sure, the only thing on this list that I'm going to really give credit to is budesonide. Budesonide is a pretty high intensity steroid that we often use for people with asthma attacks in severe cases, or people with respiratory inflammation that we need to go down so that they can breathe, like people with really bad COPD flare ups that are in the ICU. Like budesonide is incredibly life saving in terms of calming down inflammation that is killing people. And when I say inflammation to that extent, like it's not the influencer degree of inflammation of, oh, you're just feeling a little bit fatigued. Like, no, budesonide is for life-saving measures for people with autoimmune diseases or inflammatory conditions that are putting them in need for hospitalization or critical care. This is like budesonide, something that we are going to be using in the ER. We're going to be using it in the ICU, on the med surg floor, all of that. So that is something that, sure, if you want to decrease symptoms of measles, I'm sure that you could, especially in terms of the rash, like calming down irritation related to the rash. And if you're having pulmonary complications, that's kind of what budesonide is really going to be kind of used for. But yeah, there's another issue here is, and yeah, steroids are immunosuppressants. There are times when you can use immunosuppression very sparingly for people um, with immune modifying diseases. The issue is, like, do we have to address we have to address the biggest problem first. So if someone can't breathe, uh, it's probably necessary to give some budesonide to help them breathe so that they can even withstand long-term treatment. But that's a little bit into the nuance. But budesonide, yeah, is going to, like any steroid, is going to be very generally immunosuppressive, and needs to be used with a lot of caution. Clarithromycin is an antibiotic, which the antibiotic is not going to help the measles. It is not going to really do anything for the measles itself. Uh, Antibiotics may be used in cases where there's high risk of secondary infection, which is the main cause of fatalities within people who get measles. The fact that he's leaning so heavily on clarithromycin is a bit odd. We're going to choose the antibiotic based on what infections people are most likely going to get. Clarithromycin is often used to cover for like atypical pneumonias. It's not really first line for most like community acquired pneumonias. So we often use it in conjunction with something uh, like a beta-lactam antibiotic such as penicillin, amoxicillin, etc. So it's not really going to be first choice for most pneumonias, and it's not going to do anything at all for measles. Measles is a virus. The antibiotic is not going to target that. Cod liver oil, I have no idea what he's going on about there. There is really no reason to be adding that. The vitamin A piece is interesting, and we will get into the specific guidelines with regard to vitamin A. Oh, and it actually does kind of mention it here. Measles has been eradicated, or was considered eradicated in 2000, and now we're back at this like big epidemic. And he's suggesting that we use just broadly use vitamin A, budesonide, clarithromycin, and cod liver oil. This is a guy who's not a doctor, has no medical training, has even said under oath that people should not be taking his medical advice. And maybe people, that's like the one thing I agree with him on, is that we should not be taking his medical advice, point blank, period. Because he does not know what he's talking about. He does not know the right time and place to use budesonide, to use clarithromycin, etc. So getting into this point about vitamin A. So vitamin A is used in supportive care for measles patients. And the reason is because measles can lead to blindness. And so vitamin A, at least in the studies that we have, shows that it may prevent some harmful complications of blindness, usually in populations who are already deficient in vitamin A. So this is not something that vitamin A is just going to treat your measles. No, this may prevent complications in people who are vitamin A deficient. And since, a small amount of vitamin A supplementation is not going to hurt most people, it's okay to kind of give it just in case that they are vitamin A deficient. But vitamin A is one of the vitamins that has a lower dose of toxicity. And this is a slight tangent, but in medical school, when you're studying for your boards, there's kind of some questions that will be asked that will intentionally lead you in certain directions. For some reason, they love to hyperfixate on this idea that polar bear liver can give you an insanely high vitamin A dose, and that's true. I don't know anybody who's going out there and intentionally eating large amounts of polar bear liver, or really I don't know anybody who's eaten polar bear liver. I'm just going to say that outright. But if there's any medical board question involving polar bear liver, it's probably in regard to vitamin A toxicity. But this is something that we need to be careful with, which I'll get into in a separate article. But we have an actual problem. We have an actual problem with measles spreading around the country. People are being hospitalized. Children are dying from this. And vaccination rates continue to decrease because people like this start speaking out of their ass related to, oh, we'll just give them vitamin A and they'll be okay. But that is not at all true. So what is true? What is true about the measles? Let's consult, not the CDC, let us consult the WHO. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to pull up a little picture here to kind of describe like what is the big deal with measles? How does it work? So measles is a virus. It is specifically a negative sense RNA virus, meaning that there's a few different types of viruses and how they interact with your body. So you can have viruses that are DNA viruses, and of the DNA viruses, you can have them be double-strand DNA or single-strand DNA, or you can have RNA viruses. And this just means, does the virus have to use the host machinery in order to reproduce viruses? So the goal, if you will, of a virus is to invade host cells and multiply. And the way that a lot of viruses do this, there's either the process of lysis, like lytic viruses, or lysogenic viruses. And so the difference with this is when the virus binds to the host cell, is it going to kill the host cell and let all of its progeny go loose to go affect other cells? Or is it going to kind of sit back and just continually use the machinery from the host cell in order to, make more viruses? So measles is a negative sense RNA virus, meaning that it does not have its own machinery to make its own proteins. So measles will attach onto a cell, and specifically measles attaches onto immune cells. And this is going to be very, very important. It attaches onto, I want to see if I can show you here. So I don't know if y'all can see my thing. It attaches onto alveolar macrophages, specifically in the lungs. So macrophages are immune cells that go out and eat up foreign matter. So it finds pathogens, they go out and they eat them, and then they bring that pathogen back to the lymph nodes where the T cells, the B cells recognize what that pathogen is and then mount an antibody response. And this is all going to be very, very important in a sec. So when the measles virus binds onto this, it injects its RNA into the host cell, and then it cannot make its own proteins. So the RNA that goes in ends up getting through the translation from the host cell. So the host cell has to make the complementary strand and make its own proteins. And then once those proteins are made, you have new little baby viruses, and then they burst out of the cell. So this is lytic. They burst out, they kill the host cell, and then they go off and infect more cells. So one of the crazy things about measles is this phenomenon of immunosuppression and eventual immune amnesia. And the reason this is so scary, so if you get the measles and you get other infections later on, it's possible, let's say, if you've had the flu before, I guess the flu is not a great example. If you had chickenpox before, that's a better example. If you've had the chickenpox before, you probably have a pretty good immune response to it. Like there's a reason why you're less likely to get chickenpox a second time, because your body remembers those pathogens and it can mount an antibody response before that happens. It's the whole concept of immunity. Same thing with COVID-19 and with anything that we have vaccines for. But imagine you had chickenpox earlier on and you had immunity to that, and then you get the measles, and then you no longer have immunity to chickenpox. So it could wipe out the effectiveness of vaccines that you've had. It could wipe out the effectiveness of diseases you've already had. And that's a very big deal, because we start learning memory of these pathogens from a very young age. Everything that we're exposed to, we're kind of building up our immune systems towards, and wiping that out can make us predisposed to not only get diseases that have, not been a big deal, but can also make them a lot more problematic because we can't deal with them properly. So the mechanism of how all of this happens, the measles virus, like I said, binds onto macrophages and starts kind of killing these. But those macrophages will take this pathogen back to the immune cells. And shingles are from having chickenpox earlier on, and that's a slightly different mechanism. But the macrophages will take this back to the T cells and the B cells, and when it binds to the immune cells, it causes them to rupture since it binds to the immune cells. And then instead of being able to mount a response, you get immune amnesia. You no longer have the ability to produce those antibodies that those immune cells once made. So that's pretty scary. I don't know if any of that made sense to all of you, but this article, I can post it in the description, kind of going into this at a bit more detail. And so this is also scary because the immune cells are dying from measles. You're losing that prior immunity. You're also losing your ability to respond to current infections. And that's where we get risk of secondary pneumonias. That's where we get risk of um, many other infections. And so that's what makes this super duper scary. Well, it's one of the reasons that makes this super scary. Buckle up because there's more. There's more scary things coming. Just pull this up here. So from a clinical perspective, when somebody gets measles, the usual process starts about 10 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. So you could be having no symptoms, already have the virus in your symptoms for about a week to 2 weeks before you'll be hit with what we call the 4 C's, even though it's one of them is not really a C, the 4 C's of measles. And so runny nose is also called coryza. Runny nose and watery eyes to get kind of together is coryza. Cough, coryza, um, conjunctivitis for the red eyes. And then small white spots inside the cheeks is called Koplik spots. It starts with a K. It's not a C. But what you need to know, cough, coryza, conjunctivitis, Koplik spots. That's going to happen kind of within the first 4 to 7 days. That's kind of a bit of a prodrome. And then right after that, you're going to be hit with a pretty severe top-down morbilliform is what we call it. But it's a maculopapular rash, so lots of little tiny speckles of red all throughout your body. It's going to start from your head and kind of work its way down, which is pretty characteristic. If you have a rash that starts on your hands or your feet and goes somewhere else, that is different. That is probably not the measles. Measles is going to start from your head and work its way down. It also causes very high fevers, which in itself can be very dangerous, especially to younger children. But those are kind of the more mundane symptoms, if you will. That's kind of what's most expected. But complications, as the WHO mentions, can include blindness, kind of what we were hinting at with vitamin A deficiency. Encephalitis, this one is really scary, and I'll come back to this in a second. Severe diarrhea and related dehydration, of course, that's going to be a pretty high killer of a lot of children, and probably contributing pretty high to the group under 5 years old that are getting symptoms. Ear infections secondary to the immune system being essentially like wiped out by this virus, and then severe breathing problems, including pneumonias, again secondary. It can also lead to, if someone gets this in pregnancy, it can lead to preterm deliveries, and in that lead to low birth weights. It can also lead to the inability of the baby to thrive and live to, what we'd expect them to. So pretty scary. But going back to this encephalitis point, so this is something called SSPE. You don't need to know the big fancy name for that, because if you Google SSPE, you will pull it up. But this is brain swelling. And this particular condition doesn't always happen within this acute time frame. And this is wild. So a lot of the narrative for anti-vax people and people like RFK Jr., who essentially victim blame people into thinking that it's their own fault for getting sick. They will say, I'm healthy, I'm super fit, I don't have any issues, I eat well, and all that. They think that that's going to protect them. They think that being young and healthy and athletic is going to protect them from complications of these illnesses. And they might think that in the early phases of the disease, but the brain swelling can actually occur 7 to 10 years down the line from a measles infection. So it's something that you might not even get right away, but it might come, and it is more often than not fatal. Um, and if it's not fatal, it can lead to very significant disabilities, uh, such as not being able to eat, not being able to breathe, not being able to uh, have the quality of life that you did. So this is incredibly dangerous. Um, and Miranda makes a great point. Like RFK was vaccinated as a child, so people who are vaccinated are less likely to have these complications because they are less likely to get this disease. If you had the choice for vaccinating your child or not vaccinating your child, and you knew that not vaccinating could risk your kid dying from brain swelling, even years down the line, even decades down the line, I think it is irresponsible to convince parents that that's worth the risk, because it is absolutely not. Is it worth the risk for your child to not develop an appropriate immune system? Is fatal pneumonia worth it to you? Is having a preterm delivery that you didn't plan on, and possibly lifelong complications of that, worth it to you to not get vaccinated or not get your child vaccinated? And with this too, if people think back to how intense the spread of COVID was in that height of the pandemic back in 2019 and 2020, that doesn't even compare to the uh, to how infectious measles is. So I'm gonna put this a little bit into perspective. So there's a number that we go off of for how transmissible a particular disease is. So something like Ebola has a really, really low R naught. It's R with a little zero, R naught or R zero. Um, it's very deadly if you do get it, but even if you're kind of in the proximity of somebody with Ebola, it's pretty difficult to actually get infected and have symptoms. Contrast that with something like COVID. We saw a very rapid spread throughout the population, and that has an R naught of somewhere around 3 to 4. Okay, so putting this into perspective now, measles has an R naught of 12. So astronomically higher than the transmission of COVID-19. So if we were to see measles continue to spread in the country and we continue to lower our vaccination rates, we're about to see a lot of people infected and a lot of people die from this preventable illness. And most of the people who die are going to be young children. So, thinking about the pro-life perspective of a lot of these people, um, this is clearly outlining people are more pro-life in terms of their being pro-birth as opposed to pro-life. Because if you are pro-life, you would support vaccination. You would support preventing the spread of measles, preventing deaths of children from measles. The other very high risk population is going to be the elderly, people over age 65. And then people of all ages with chronic illness, people who are on medications for chronic illness, especially if you're on immunosuppression. So if you think of uh, somebody that has like IBD, somebody that has rheumatoid arthritis, people that have chronic illnesses on immunosuppression or on steroids are going to be high risk. People with HIV are going to be high risk. Cancer patients are going to be incredibly high risk. So part of our duty in promoting vaccination, getting vaccinated, is to prevent these other people from having these complications, right? So I know this is really heavy, but this is what happens when we put people who don't know what's going on in charge of this whole system. And like I mentioned, there is no treatment. There is no treatment for measles. The only thing you can do is prevent complications. You can prevent secondary infections, and you can just let them ride it out. And still, despite that, the people that are getting encephalitis are often people who survived. Like people who are getting SSPE 7 to 10 years down the road, those are people who survived measles. So just surviving does not mean that you are ultimately going to survive, because your cause of death in that case is going to be measles. So our current schedule, like I mentioned earlier, is in this country is a vaccination initially between 12 to 15 months and then 15, 18 months for the booster. In countries where there is high risk, they recommend giving the initial vaccine at 9 months. So kind of getting ahead of that. It's incredibly cheap. It's less than $1 per child to vaccinate people. Combining vaccines decreases the cost. Like, we don't have any good reason to stop vaccinating. But here's where we are. And we're currently in the middle of debates within the CDC itself, deciding what are we going to do about the vaccine schedule, because they want to spread vaccines out. They want to not require vaccines for schools. We're already seeing states just delete their vaccine requirements for schools. And this is what specifically what the CDC is voting on right now. So their ACIP meetings are they just happened this past week, and when we get the meeting minutes uploaded, I plan on going through those in depth. Most of it is related to COVID-19 vaccines, and so I'll kind of wait to talk more in depth on that. But several votes are planned during the September 18th to 19th, 2025 ACIP meeting. So this is the body that approves the recommendations for the CDC. So they are voting on the MMRV vaccines, and the vote specifically is the pediatric vaccine schedule should be updated to reflect the following change. They're saying that for measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella vaccines given before age 4 years, the combined vaccine is not recommended. So they're trying to say that you should separate out the vaccines, which probably the main issues with that in particular is decreasing access to care. Because think about it, if you're separating out the vaccines, you're going to have to schedule additional appointments to come back to your pediatrician to get those done. This is not a benign effect. A lot of people are out there saying, what if we just not give the kids the antigens like all at the same time? Like, why don't we spread them out? Because not everybody has the ability to pay a copay 4 times in a week. Exactly. Calasia has it. More visits, more costs. So even in our system, where like even with people who have insurance, they're going to have to pay a copay for each office visit that they have. And that includes preventative health visits. And so where they could pay one copay to do their well visit at 15 months, get all their vaccines at that time, this is saying that they should spread it out. And so now they're going to have, even just for this one vaccine, they're going to have 4 separate appointments for this one vaccine. And that's not the only vaccine they're getting at this stage. Thank you so much, Calasia, for the memberships. Oh, and with that, you know what? With that, we're going to start doing the bloom thing. I will drink the bloom at the end of the show. Here we go. But yeah, the underprivileged will get vaccinated less often. Yeah, and that is exactly what it sounds like people want. Like, it's going to keep people poor. It's going to keep people desperate for healthcare. It's going to keep people thinking about, how are we going to survive, instead of thinking about what other nonsense is coming down the pipeline. And this looks so nasty. I'm pouring the bloom in here now. I'll show you all what it looks like in a second. But But access to care is already garbage. Anybody out there who has kids, like, tell me, how easy is it for you to schedule with your pediatrician, even for just routine visits, much less sick visits? Like, if you have a sick child, how easy is it really to get into your pediatrician? Like, not very. Most pediatricians are incredibly overworked, and especially if you think in rural areas where you might have one pediatrician who's doing all of the work outpatient and probably also covering inpatient. Who are you supposed to go to get all this done? You can't get your visit because it's too expensive to space them all out. But also now costs are going to go up anyway because that pediatrician can only see so many kids per day. So a lot of people are just not going to be able to get in. And so if you have rich kids now that are going in for their 5 vaccine appointments during the week, that takes up appointment slots from somebody else who needs that. And pediatricians are going to continue to be overworked. They're going to continue to have really, really high burnout rates, and we're going to get fewer pediatricians. And let me just say, with all that, pediatricians are criminally underpaid for the work they do. So this whole system is just eating itself alive. We do not have the framework to sustain any of this. And here's the bloom so far. I'm about to shake this, but I am gonna be drinking this. And no, I'm not sponsored, and I never will be sponsored by Bloom. This looks like kelp water. This is so nasty. It's not even keyed out by the green screen, really, because it's not recognized as a normal color of green. This is really nasty. I'll get into why I'm doing this again at the end if y'all didn't hear it. It's not. Yeah, this is gonna be so chalky. Also, you know what, Calacia, you gave 10 memberships. You know what? We're gonna do another shot with that. We're gonna do another ginger boost shot along with the bloom shit. This is the chaos that we are doing today. Thank you everybody for joining in my little rant. But here we go. We're gonna do the other ginger boost shot, and this smells just as gingery as the other one was. Like, this is spicy. Oh no, we have vaccine misinformation in the side chat. I will remove this person. There we go. Huzzah to you, Calacia. Thank you so much for your contribution. This is so spicy. I love ginger, but that is just, oh my god, that is straight burn. Yikes, that was more ginger than the other. I mean, okay. This is a specifically ginger shot. I'm getting hiccups now for how spicy that was. Oh my god. I'm like needing a second. But yeah, here, I'm gonna get heartburn later. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get lots of heartburn. And we're still doing the bloom later on. But yeah, so that's one of the items being voted on this week. They're also voting on the Hep B vaccines, which maybe isn't content for another time, and also voting on COVID-19 vaccines. And I believe there was a vote that did end up better than I expected, but I will cover that at a later date. But stay tuned for another episode where we get in depth on this particular advisory committee meeting, because it is a doozy. And I'm just gonna ban this person. All right. So I'm going to switch over to what the AAP has to say about this. So a lot of medical organizations are fighting back against this. We're saying that we are not updating our standard of care. We are not changing our stance. And the AAP, of course, is the main one to drive this. This is the American Academy of Pediatrics. And this is in particular an article from February of this year. And this is talking about the AAP leaders combating misinformation amid measles outbreak, stress importance of vaccination. So keep in mind that data in this is outdated from February. But they say, while health officials continue to monitor and treat those affected by a measles outbreak in Texas that has led to the death of one child, clinicians are also addressing misinformation regarding how to prevent infection and cause of the outbreak. So families hoping to protect their children from measles are encouraged to speak with their pediatrician to receive an MMR vaccine if needed. 2 doses of MMR are 97% effective against measles. With more infections expected to be reported, healthcare officials are reminding families that vaccination is the best way to prevent spread. And again, if you have to decide between a vaccine that is 97% effective and a disease that can wipe out your immune system and give you fatal brain swelling, this is not a hard decision at all. And they do say that while there is no specific antiviral treatment for measles, the WHO recommends 2 doses of vitamin A to be administered by a healthcare professional 24 hours apart for children and adults with measles. The supplement restores low vitamin A levels that can occur even in well-nourished children and can help prevent eye damage and blindness. So this is, again, something only for prevention of complications and not related to the treatment of measles itself. They go into kind of what I was saying, that vitamin A does have risk of toxicity. Larger prolonged doses of vitamin A can cause nausea, vomiting, headache and fatigue, joint and bone pain, blurry vision, and skin and hair problems. The specific skin and hair problems are related to not being able to produce keratin, which is what gives our skin its protective barrier. And so retinoid medications here, I'm going to make somebody a mod out there if you want to kind of help with this. Calacia, I'm adding you as a mod if you're cool with that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got a mod now. But the reason why retinoids work, retin-A is a type of vitamin A that is used to prevent acne, especially severe acne, and can also be used in things like where there's high keratinization, like KP, I think can also benefit from retin-A, but don't quote me on that. So vitamin A inhibits keratin production, and so could cause disorders with skin healing if you have high amounts of vitamin A. So just things to note: don't overdo it with the vitamin A. It's okay in small doses, but like, please, if you're considering vitamin A supplementation or really any supplementation, I recommend talking with a healthcare professional who knows you and your medical history and can help kind of direct you in that. But the AAP and the CDC recommend children receive the MMR vaccine at age 12 to 15 months, and again at 4 to 6 years. So this is slightly different recommendation, kind of than the WHO. Each country kind of has some variations in what they recommend for those dosages, but that's kind of like, those kind of things are a bit more up to debate of like region to region and population to population, kind of what's more effective for those communities. I will defer to the AAP guidelines on kind of their scheduling. And there's a whole bunch of resources that the AAP has here for more information on this, but they agree with what I previously said. Measles is, I didn't mention this earlier, that measles is specifically transmitted through infectious droplets in the air. So when somebody breathes into the area, you can infect people. If you cough or sneeze, that is also a way to transmit this. The measles virus can remain infectious in the air up to 2 hours after an infectious person leaves an area. So it lingers around for a good while. And yeah, a lot of this kind of is what I previously said. But they agree measles can lead to pneumonia, swelling of the brain, deafness, intellectual disability, and death. Like, this is a serious, serious thing. So how do you prevent this? We've gone into this multiple times before. Vaccination is the really only way to prevent this. But some more FAQs. And thank you, Calacia, for sharing that. But there's a website linked in that AAP article that I did want to share, kind of addressing some frequently asked questions. So this is from healthychildren.org. And this is a site that is through, like, either through the AAP or endorsed by the AAP. So this resource is put out by the experts in pediatrics. Oh yeah, it is. It says from the American Academy of Pediatrics. So if you have questions, and I'm going to say, if you have questions on really anything related to general healthcare advice, like for children, this is a pretty safe website to go to. I defer to the AAP for most things pediatrics related. Of course, if there's something specific that you need for your own child, go to your pediatrician, or if you use a family physician for your peds care, that's totally fine too. But go to your personal physician if you have more specific questions. But this is a pretty safe website if you have further questions about immunization. So if you're wondering, how soon can my baby get the measles vaccine? Like I said, you get the first one between 12 to 15 months of age. It says if you live in or plan to travel to a community experiencing an outbreak, or if you travel internationally, your baby may be vaccinated as early as 6 months of age. So this is something that if we see numbers continue to skyrocket, or if you're planning on going to Central Texas, you might need to talk to your pediatrician about getting vaccinated at 6 months of age if you've got a new baby. Really, any exposure to, like, there's a lot of advice that goes around for if you have a newborn baby, like a baby less than 60 days, especially 60 days old. You should not be bringing them kind of out in public places. So, like, if you're talking about super, super young babies, like, just don't travel with them if you can avoid it, because they are super duper at risk. But around 6 months, they're getting some of their vaccinations at that point. And we might start seeing a recommendation, at least from the AAP, to start vaccinating at 6 months for MMR. The next question is, my baby is too young for the vaccine. Is there anything I can do to protect them? If there's not measles circulating in your community, thanks to vaccines, the risk to your baby is low. So really, the main thing you can do to prevent infection of your baby that's younger than that is to be in a vaccinated community. So relying on herd immunity in this time frame is kind of scary now that people are no longer supporting herd immunity. But of course, they're recommending hand hygiene, recommending, probably also going to recommend social distancing and all that with that. But other things that can help protect your baby in the event that measles is spreading. Limit your baby's exposure to crowds. Absolutely. Prevent germs at home. Disinfect your objects. Disinfect your surfaces. Feed your baby breast milk. And this is something that does have validity. Breast milk does provide with antibodies that can help protect very, very young infants from a variety of illnesses. Again, this is not going to be a substitute for vaccination, but in a baby that is super duper young, breastfeeding does have some benefits. What are the chances that my baby will catch the measles? Depends on where you are. If you're in Texas, pretty high. But yeah, this is what the measles rash looks like on kids. If you see that rash, it's probably measles. There are some other rashes that look like measles that are not. So if you have any questions, if you get any kind of rash like that at all, go get help. Like go see a professional because you need some quality advice on whether or not you need a quarantine for one, but also if it is not measles, it would still be good to know what you have. And also measles cases are being tracked. So having the data that you came in and were diagnosed with measles helps us in terms of public health data, map out where these infections are and all of that. So here's another very important question. Should I get the measles vaccine if I'm pregnant? So you cannot get the vaccine during your pregnancy because this is a live vaccine. And we don't want to risk giving this kind of vaccine to like fetuses in utero. So if you weren't already vaccinated against measles, you have to wait until after your delivery, at which time there is a recommendation for you to get vaccinated kind of as soon as you have the baby. So if you're planning on getting pregnant, you should get vaccinated like before you get pregnant. that would be probably the best recommendation. Oh, look, there's a measles fact quiz. We could do that. Test your knowledge. Here, chat, you want to play this? Here, let me blow this up a little bit. So question 1 to the side chat. Measles is always a mild illness. True or false? I feel like we're going to be on the same page with this. We're going to say false. Correct. Getting a measles infection is not the safer choice. While most children will recover from measles without problems, many others will not. In some children, measles can lead to pneumonia, a brain infection called encephalitis, or even death. Getting the measles vaccine definitely is the best way to protect your child. And there's like a whole little video there. This is a fun little quiz. This is fun. Next one. Okay, we know this one. Vitamin A prevents measles infections. We know that is false. Yeah, vitamin A does not prevent or cure measles. It is no replacement for the measles vaccine. In fact, too much vitamin A can cause serious health problems. So we know that one. Oh, and this actually goes into a really good point, going back to what RFK said about cod liver oil. But vitamins A and D are fat-soluble vitamins, so they are going to build up around exposure to fats. So cod liver oil has a lot of vitamin A and vitamin D. If you take too much cod liver oil, the vitamins may make you sick, which is why it is not recommended to give your child a large amount of cod liver oil. So RFK Jr. advocating for vitamin A supplementation and cod liver oil supplementation, which may cause toxicity of both compounds in high amounts, and especially for children. Like, something that I have to say is people think of children as mini adults, and that is not at all true. The healthcare needs of children are vastly different to the healthcare needs of adults. And so it's very, very important that we do not assume that the healthcare advice for adults is going to be the same as the healthcare advice for children. Because while most adults are not going to have, like, it's going to be very hard for an adult to reach toxic doses of vitamin A and cod liver oil. It is way less difficult to reach toxicity for a child, like especially a young child or a baby. Like, just please don't do this. Do not give your children supplements without talking to a proper clinician that works in a pediatric setting, like actually is licensed to work in a pediatric setting. So don't go to your urologist, don't go to your chiropractor for advice related to measles in children. Okay. Next question. Oh, here we go. Here's a little graphic about vitamin A toxicity. And also, interesting point here, vitamin A toxicity can cause increased intracranial pressure, which can be incredibly fatal, which can lead to that confusion and coma. That's fantastic. Next question. We got 2 out of 7. Here we go. Question 3. The measles vaccine provides long-lasting protection. This is going to be true. Correct. The measles vaccine protection lasts a very long time. 2 doses are 97% effective at preventing illness. No vaccine is 100% protective, so very rarely people who are vaccinated may develop measles, and this is true. You can get breakthrough infections in kids who are vaccinated, but it is very, very uncommon. So it's better to get vaccinated. Like, I'm just speaking to the choir at this point. Question 4. The measles virus can wipe out some of your child's immunity to other diseases. True or false? So we did talk about this one, and this is true. The measles virus can make the immune system forget how to fight infections. The side effect known as immune amnesia can affect anyone who gets measles. And we covered this one. So vaccines and new infections are the only way to get this immunity back. Question 5. Ooh, this is, again, going back to what our RFK Jr. was saying about clarithromycin. True or false? If your kid gets sick with measles, antibiotics like clarithromycin will treat the virus. And we know that this is false. It's antibiotics do not treat viruses. Some people have made false claims in public about antibiotics like clarithromycin to treat measles. They suggest that measles can be cured with antibiotics. It can't, and here's why. Measles is caused by a virus, like I mentioned. Antibiotics are not a cure for viral infections. Antibiotics cure bacterial infections. And like I mentioned, it's exactly the same point I made. If your child had measles and developed a second infection from the bacteria, clarithromycin would not be the first choice to treat the bacterial infection. And now I want to click on this thing. So we're actually going to go into that next. We're going to go into the budesonide claim. Next question. Here we go. We're doing so well. We got 5 out of 7. Ooh, okay. This is, again, going into budesonide. Question 6. If your child gets sick with measles, a steroid like budesonide can cure the infection. And we know this one. This one is false. People have made false claims in public about steroids like budesonide to treat measles. Budesonide is not a treatment for measles. Here's what to know. Yeah, and here's the other thing, too, that I didn't clearly mention at the beginning. Budesonide is an inhaled steroid. It's not a systemic steroid. So it's not one that you're taking orally. It's not one that's going in an IV or anything like this is, which we don't really, like IV steroid, like that would be absolutely insane. But like when we're trying to treat inflammation of the whole body or try to treat an improper immune response in the whole body, we use oral steroids. Budesonide is an inhaled steroid. So this is primarily for asthma. Yeah, and it can interfere with your immune system and make it harder to fight measles. So if you had pulmonary complications, like let's say your child had measles and then gets secondary pneumonia, and then on top of that has an asthma attack because of the pneumonia, that is going to be probably where you consider using budesonide. But otherwise, no, it's not generally going to be used. Last question. Measles containing vaccines are safe. And this one is true. There have been hundreds of large-scale studies around the world on vaccine safety during the past few decades. These studies find that vaccines are safe for children and teens, and vaccines, including the measles vaccine, are not associated with autism or developmental delays. And I'm also going to pull up this one too. So like if you need to debunk some of this stuff, go to healthychildren.org. Like they've got some amazing stuff here to look into. So I'm going to switch over to the budesonide and clarithromycin thing because I haven't read these beforehand. But just based on the source, I'm sure that it's great. So fact checked, budesonide and clarithromycin unproven and risky. The claim in context, measles is a very serious illness for children and there is no proven or licensed treatment. Recent claims that budesonide and clarithromycin cure measles are reckless and put children at serious risk. This kind of goes into things that we've already said. So key facts. We already got to that point. There's no evidence, no scientific evidence that inhaled steroids like budesonide or oral antibiotics like clarithromycin are beneficial for treating measles. Promoting medications to treat measles, particularly when those medications are not recommended, suggests that measles is treatable, which it is not. So spreading multiple layers of misinformation here. We kind of went over that. Here we go. Measles can weaken the body so much that patients develop bacterial infections, but experts do not recommend clarithromycin as a first-line treatment for bacterial infections caused by measles. Clarithromycin is a broad-spectrum antibiotic that targets a wide range of bacteria. Targeting everything rather than specific bacteria risks resistance to antibiotics, which is absolutely true. We need to be very particular about when we're using antibiotics, what antibiotic we're using, because for real, I need to do some content on the antibiotic resistance issue that's becoming more and more prevalent. Because this is serious. Like we are getting illnesses that like were eradicated or were previously treatable that are no longer treatable, and that is really really scary. People forget that things like strep can be fatal. It can cause like scarlet fever. It can cause like heart disease. It can cause kidney disease. This stuff is not benign, and antibiotics are functioning less and less because people have been over prescribing and prescribing inappropriately. So if you bring your kid to your pediatrician and they say no, we don't need to use antibiotics, like it's okay to seek a second opinion, like if you really want to, but most of the time antibiotics are not warranted and are just going to cause more problems. So yeah, why it matters. Exactly the same things that I've been saying. It's preventing people from getting vaccinated. It's changing public policy to make healthcare more expensive, to overburden pediatricians, and ultimately all of this is going to lead to increases in suffering and loss of life, which is unacceptable. Let's switch over real quick to the vaccine safety page. Reggie, thank you so much for the 10 memberships. I have to actually start drinking this now. And you know what? I have another magic mind thing to drink, and I guess we're gonna drink it now. Here we go. All right. Nervous for this one. This one was so nasty. Oh, it's kosher certified. No idea. Benefits build with daily use. Oh my god. Okay. All right, Reggie. This is my huzzah. Huzzah to Reggie. Thank you so much. Huzzah to the temple. This one's so gross. I'm trying to pinpoint like what the taste is that's like so forward. I don't even know. It just tastes nasty. It tastes really, really nasty. All right. Vaccine safety. Here we go. Back to your. Oh, the link is not supposed to go in the middle of the sentence. Welcome to the stream, Bree. Yeah, I had to do all of these shots that I have so far, and we're still about to get to the bloom later on. That'll be the end of the show thing. But right now we're going to talk about vaccine safety. So vaccines are under constant study, and that is true. For a vaccine to be recommended as part of the child and adolescent immunization schedule, it must be tested, found safe, and closely monitored. Safety testing begins as soon as a new vaccine is made and clinical trials begin, and evidence of safety is gathered for as long as it is in use. When it's time for your child to receive recommended vaccines, you may want to know more, and it's okay. You can talk to your pediatrician and ask them about things that you've heard if you're wondering if something is misinformation or not. It is okay. You can go to places like healthychildren.org. Like we're finding out, it's an amazing resource for people with questions. And you can ask your pediatrician directly. They would be happy to answer those questions for you. Skepticism is appropriate. It is okay. I will never say to stop asking questions. But what's important is that we don't let evidence denialism become skepticism. Like, skepticism is not the same thing as denying evidence that is there. So feel free to ask questions, ask your questions to the right sources, and then make determinations and make decisions accordingly. As a parent, you can be, like, I guess all of your parents, but of course this is directed towards parents, but you can be reassured to know that there have been hundreds of large-scale studies around the world on vaccine safety during the past few decades. They demonstrate that recommended vaccines are safe for children and teens. Vaccines are not associated with conditions like diabetes or problems with fertility. Vaccines are not associated with autism or developmental delays. Vaccines are safe. Vaccine ingredients are safe. And here's a whole list of publications. And here's something that is different between people spreading misinformation and people spreading actual information, is that credible sources are going to cite where they got their information from. And you can go through and read these reports. They are here. You can get a 2014 report from the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. Here's one from JAMA from 2018, association between estimated cumulative vaccine antigen exposure through the first 23 months of life and non-vaccine targeted infections from 24 through 47 months of age. You have citations on why it does not cause infertility or diabetes. You have evidence that it is not associated with autism. We have actual citations here from legitimate pediatrics journals. We have measles containing vaccines are safe, again, from the Journal of Pediatrics. We have so many citations, and I encourage you, if you have these questions or if you're talking with people who have these questions, you can, I'm going to copy this and share this inside chat. Please use this resource. I'm going to put this in the description as well, for people to read these citations, because this is some really good stuff here. There's also something I wanted to show you all, but I have to go to Facebook, I think, for it, because I'm just remembering. Have you all seen on Facebook there are people sharing out, like, people are looking to VAERS for vaccine injury stuff, which anybody can submit anything to VAERS. I'm just going to search that. Anyone can submit anything they want to VAERS as a vaccine complication. So here, I'm going to share my screen on Facebook real quick, so don't judge me. Actually, I'm going to do it in a second so these chat windows don't pop up. So roommates, don't send anything because it will show up on Facebook. So actually, you know what? I'm just going to screenshot this so we Here we're gonna do it this way. But this is comical. Absolutely, absolutely comical. Here we go. So this is a page. Oh, I actually shared the Facebook page. I don't want to share their Facebook page. I want to share the picture. Here we go. Okay. Oh, and let me remove my overlay real quick, and I'll put it back. So this is from a page called Refuting Anti-Vax Memes, and these are ICD VAERS IDs associated with certain ICD-10 codes. The code's not specifically in here, but the symptoms are listed. So complications of vaccines include buttock crushing, cerebral laceration from auto accident, damaged hair from incorrect hair bleach mixture, delusional rant about psychological warfare, legal problems, drowning, vaccines cause drowning, electric shock from a hair straightener, fight in school, frostbite, genital herpes, Gulf War syndrome, gunshot wound, hair color of beard change, hiccups, infection of mites, inhalation of toxic fumes, intentional overdose, memory loss after alcohol consumption. And I love that it's combined. It's a combined code with memory loss after alcohol consumption and herpes and syphilis, methamphetamine and fentanyl overdose, motor vehicle accident, murder. Murder is a complication of vaccines, apparently. Passed out from excessive exercise. Patient got tattoo after vaccination against medical advice. Patient stole flu shot and injected himself. That is clearly vaccines are not safe because somebody took it and injected himself with it. Positive opiate screen. Spontaneous penile erection. Sports injury dodgeball. Sports injury football. Suicidal ideation due to breakup with boyfriend. Sunburn and tested positive for STD. These are all apparently... These are all reasons people, like all symptoms that people are listing as vaccine injury and complications. So relying on VAERS is not reliable. Absolutely not reliable. So there you go. And that's kind of where we're going to leave it. Put this back up. Yeah. So vaccines are a substitute for Viagra. Yeah. Apparently. So that's kind of where we're going to leave this content. I appreciate you all sticking with me. I'm going to tell you about other things that are going on, and I'm super duper excited. I do have to drink this Bloom. I'm going to tell y'all exactly why I'm drinking the Bloom. So there's a reason why I'm drinking Bloom. And again, not sponsored. But here we go. I'm gonna drink this. It is keyed out like a little bit. It's not completely black, but it is like almost black. This smells so nasty. Okay. It doesn't taste as bad. Maybe like my palate is messed up from these magic shots. These were worse. These were a lot worse. But the taste of this is not good. What's in that drink? It's Bloom. This is Bloom. It's sponsored. I'm doing this because a lot of content creators are sponsored by this greens powder. It's the Bloom Greens and Superfoods, and I'm going to talk about the issues with their marketing next week. Because they're actually telling their sponsors to conceal the ads in their content and like not properly disclose that they are advertising for Bloom. But it's one of those like wellness greens powders that is sponsoring a bunch of channels. And I'm going to do an in-depth deep dive into Bloom. Is it effective for what it says it is? Is it something people need in their lives? Because I know people will say, well, even if it doesn't do what it promises, at least it's a way for me to get my greens and my fruits and veg. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that is not true. Next week, we will look into the nutritional benefits, if any, from this. And I cannot say that this is unbiased. Like, this is clearly I clearly have my own bias about this product just based on my experience and what I know about the particular company itself. Yeah, it sounds like snake oil, but I'm gonna, give it a try for the next 7 days. And I'm not going to change anything else about my diet. I am just going to drink this for the next, well, I'm adding this. I'm not changing anything else. I will be eating other food. I will be doing my usual routine, just to, standardize this. Like, does this product make me feel any different than if I didn't add this product onto what I was already doing? And then next week, we're going to discuss kind of all the nitty gritties. But I will be additionally releasing vlog type content throughout the week of me undergoing this bloom experience, filling you in on how it makes me feel, how does it taste, all that stuff, like what my opinions are, like as I'm going through this. And this is a start of a new series that I will be doing that will kind of have a vlog style video throughout the week and then culminate in a medical myths episode at the end, deep diving into it. I have to drink more of this. No, that's pretty gross. But in addition to the bloom thing, I'm going to be exploring different fad diets. So hear me out. If there's anything that ends up being completely unsafe, I will use my own judgment of if I need to discontinue them or not. But it's only going to last for a week at a time. I'm going to try out religious diets. I'm going to try out different fad diets, and I'm going to give them rankings based on, how full does it make you? What's the variety like in the diet? What's the cost of doing that kind of diet? Is it sustainable? Do I think people are going to be able to maintain this kind of thing? Also, giving you a look at the macro split, like what macros am I getting from the food that I'm eating and all of that. So this is going to be a kind of intense, like ongoing series, but I hope you all stick with me for this. Yeah, we are going to do, I will be doing a week of, I'm going to do a few different keto ones. I'll do a clean keto. And with keto, I might do more than 1 week just because, not for carnivore there. I will not do more than 1 week of carnivore. I refuse. But for like clean keto, dirty keto, I might do a couple weeks of that because it can take some time to kind of get into the rhythm with that. But I will be trying them. I will be doing a week of carnivore at some point. I think the next one, the first one that I'm going to start with might be, I was thinking about doing the Daniel fast, which is, if you haven't heard of it, it's a religious, primarily Christian thing, looking at the book of Daniel. And it's kind of like a more intense vegan diet. But the difference between the Daniel fast and vegan is that it does not allow leavened bread. It does not allow any yeast products. It also does not allow caffeine or alcohol. It also does not allow added sweeteners or added sugar. Like, it's a pretty bland plant-based diet, and it will be pretty miserable because I love caffeine. But I want to let you know kind of what I think about that. And then kind of at the end of a bunch of these different diet weeks, I'm going to make a tier list, and I'm going to put each one of these kind of on a tier based on the scaling system that we're doing. So stay tuned for that journey. I'm nervous to kind of get into this, but I think that having the information out there is going to be helpful. And I'm also going to provide some tips on certain diets that I do think may be beneficial for some people, like how to make them more sustainable, how to make them work better for your lifestyle. I'm of course going to cover some of the recommended diets, like Mediterranean diet and whole food plant-based. Those are some that I am going to cover in depth as well to kind of show what are the recommendations, why are these the recommendations, and I'm I'm pretty excited for this. So I hope you all stick with me for that. You should do one vegan versus whole food plant-based. Yeah, no, that's definitely something that I want to do as well. Yeah, because you can have vegan, and because vegan's more of a lifestyle as well, whereas plant-based is a diet, and yeah, kind of focusing on. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing a raw vegan at some point. I might, but we'll see. We'll kind of get into that. I'm going to take these kind of 1 week at a time. I'll show you my shopping journeys as well, and it's going to be great. Other things to show kind of while we're still sitting here. We are not right after like right after this. So in a half hour, Holy Spirits is going to be premiering a brand new episode for this week. So this stream will redirect you over into that chat. So definitely stick around. I'm super duper excited for this week. And then actually after that, I will be recording more Holy Spirits with the one and only Richard Gilliver to release in a future episode. So I'm super excited. I might actually show you all the premiere for this week, or the what is the promo for this week. Do you all want to see the promo? I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you anyway because we got some time. Trying to sift through the YouTubes. Here we go. Holy Spirits. Where'd it go? It moved it like all the way down in my subscription bar. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Found it. Here we go.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost corners of the earth for thy possession. I shall break them, the rod of iron.
Abram gave his sister wife. Oh, wait, she was his sister, by the way. She was his sister. That's kind of it. And his wife. She gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh for coin, cattle, and slaves. The Pharaoh got the crotch cooties from Abram's sister wife. Hello, I am Chris Mallard. I'm the host of the Daily Atheist Morning Show, and I am here to drink some beer with you and to talk about the story of Abram and his lovely sister wife that he gave away to the Pharaoh in Egypt.
I'm Jamie the Lone Limey. I am a pro-am atheist communicator online. Elijah and Elisha was the whole story about the bears and the kids, right?
Did you not hear the story? She was 65 years old and so banging the Pharaoh of Egypt needed to have it. You know, he was hitting it every day out in the desert. He probably didn't even want to go to Egypt. He's like, look at that green.
Welcome to Holy Spirits.
So there you go. That is what you have to look forward to in today's Holy Spirits episode. And just a shill for that real quick. If you go to the Patreon for Holy Spirits, and if you contribute $5 or more per month, and you can even give $5 for a individual video, but there is unedited content on the Patreon. So if you want to see the behind the scenes stuff, there's a lot of inebriated rants that happen over there. So go check it out on Patreon if you are interested. Also, the first 7 paid patrons over on Holy Spirits Patreon are going to be invited for a live studio audience for a recording of Holy Spirit. So it's gonna be super duper fun. But anyway, that's all the stuff that I'm shilling for today. Thank you everybody so much for joining today. Thank you for the support. I did not expect to have to drink all of these wellness shots at once and drink this bloom. I guess maybe I should finish drinking the bloom while I'm on here. God, this is so gross. Because this is my first vlog. I gotta show me drinking that I'm actually drank the whole thing. Because I'm doing 1 bloom per day. This is gonna be such a long week. Any other questions before we duck out while I finish this? This is so nasty. I'm just gonna keep drinking it until we're ready to go. How does it taste? It tastes artificially sweet, and I don't know why. Like, it's not the flavor I was expecting from it. Like, I expected it to just plain taste like grass. You know what it smells like? Okay. Like it tastes like the way a super woo-woo healthy juice shop smells. But like not it's like kind of that sickly sweet, but like grassy sickly sweet. And I don't know, it's weird. It's weird. I'm not a fan, but yeah, I'm torturing myself for you all because I love you. Oh, a question: sausage, sarnie, a bacon buddy. Vegan versions are fine. Do you want me to try this? Is the question that I should try this because I can make that happen. I can do it I can do it this week. I don't know. I'll look into it. I mean, it sounds good. I like sausage and bacon. Oh, sausage, sarnie, or bacon buddy. Okay. I generally prefer sausage over bacon. But that's just me. I just like the kind of spicy flavor of sausage a bit better and like the texture of sausage. But I mean they're both good. They're both good. So there's my answer on that. This is I'm like trudging through this last bit. Nope. Nope. Well, I did it. Okay. This episode was gross. There were so many wellness shots. I don't recommend that for taste alone. I don't recommend that. Thank you everybody for joining me. It's been a time. Get vaccinated for measles if you haven't already. Go look at the information from healthychildren.org if you have further questions. And I will see you all in the Holy Spirit side chat because don't go anywhere. I will see you in Holy Spirit side chat. So meet me over there. I'll see you next time.